So we have homeless guy seizure, but then I also have finger cut in half incident, Maine woods creature encounter,
Oh yeah.
wedding brawl, dad fight, KFC famous bull, Sun Microsystems $1 million, and ruptured spleen. Those are just some of the stories that I could remember that I want to talk about.
Veritas, those are the track names for your next album, 100%.
Oh, dude.
What's up, everybody? Oh, I messed up already. I just said, what's up, everybody? And my mind went blank. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing, Veritas?
I'm good. I'm good. Oh, God.
I'm sick. I'm like really sick. So my brain is fried.
Dude.
Absolutely
like
fried.
How you felt just then is how I've been feeling like on and off for the last week, dude. Playing chess. It's weird.
Your brain's just like,
weird.
Where am I?
Dude, it's like I don't know if it's chess specific. Next game I play seriously, we'll have to see if it's me or if it's the game of chess. But dude, it's like I go from 5-head genius level to like I lose my queen on the third move,
Dude.
And I don't know if it's like I'm not paying attention because I'm talking to chat, I get distracted, or if I'm like half bored. You see, the thing is that chess, especially longer games, like those 15-minute games,
yeah,
there's enough time between moves where it's like it could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah,
that's a long time to sit there.
Yeah,
so it's like enough time to like do something else or be watching, but you have to pay attention.
It lures you into being like the quote unquote perfect stream game where you're like, oh, I can interact with chat in between, but the game necessitates you not and paying attention.
Dude, because I'll sit there and I'll calculate like all these lines and I'll like have a mental picture. If I do the thing, like I'm not lazy and I'm gonna go ahead and say, okay, is this good? This good? Is this good? Are there any attacks? Are there captures? Are there checks? Whatever. And then it's like, okay, I have a mental picture of all the safe squares and the squares that are covered, and then I'll move a piece, and now it's a different board.
Yeah.
So I have to do it again. But instead, the next time I'll have it like cached. I'll move a piece and I'll go, oh, okay, that's not really a threat, and then I'll move another thing, forgetting like, oh God, the piece I moved was covering 2 other squares. So, and I just feel so stupid because it's like as soon as I move it, I'll look at the move for 30 seconds. I'll release mouse 1, and then instantly it becomes obvious to me that I've made a mistake.
Oh, yeah.
It's the weirdest thing, dude. Yeah. It's like, why couldn't I see it before? I could look at it for another 60 seconds and I wouldn't see it. But then I release the mouse and somehow my brain's like, oh, you've woken up now and you're an idiot,
Dude. Yeah. I felt that a lot when I was like learning like at the actual gameplay and like how to be good at Tarkov. Because I was like my first PC game, so I was just so bad at it for so long. And I would do that all the time where I would just like, as soon as I would make a push, I would be like, why am I standing out in the open in the middle of this road when that guy's holding it and then I'm dead? And I'm like, oh, well. But
yeah. Isn't the worst thing making mistake that you can like say, don't do this thing, don't do this thing, don't do this thing, don't do this thing. I don't know why I'm thinking about like baseball getting up to the plate where it's like, like don't swing at a bad pitch. Don't swing at a bad pitch. Don't swing at a bad pitch. They throw the ball, hits dirt, you swing. You're like why?
Yeah.
No, I don't know why. I don't know why, dude.
Yeah, there's something in our brains. It's like, yeah, because that's an interesting point because it is normally when I'm telling myself not to do a thing, like don't do this bad thing, don't do this bad thing, don't do this bad thing. It's like I'm not telling myself what to do, just not what not to do. So then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. And because I was only telling myself to not do this one bad thing, I hadn't considered the other bad things. So when I made the choice, it was another bad thing, as opposed to me focusing on like, do this, like what to do.
Part of it, I think, is like ingrained behavior. This is actually something that's like relevant to like my therapy, where when I lose at chess, and part of this was actually similar with Tarkov, I think I spent far too many years playing like COD 4, where like you would 1v1 a dude, and then like as soon as you were done losing, He'd hear like a bloop, sent you a message, bloop, sent you a message,
oh,
bloop, and
yeah.
it would just be like talking. Yeah, it would just make me so mad when I was like 12 or 13 that I got trained that when I lose, I instantly see a face like like laughing at me, and I get mad at my opponent.
Yeah,
and I take it personally.
Yeah,
and no matter how much I know that's not true, you've trained yourself. It's like a reflex.
For sure.
It's like fight or flight, where I just feel it right away, and there's no amount of preparation can
override that.
Can override. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like if someone says, you know, don't laugh, and then they tickle you in your tickle spot. Right.
It's a visceral thing. Yeah.
So when you're like, don't do this thing, I think a lot of times those things, you've trained yourself to do it, right? It's a bad habit or whatever. And no matter, so it's almost like it's either, you know, subconscious. I don't know, dude, but I've been just trying to not fall into that trap. But, and you know what, like sometimes it goes well, and then other times you're losing, and you might be like, okay, you know, it's okay. Chess is like a game that 51% of the time you win, you're doing good. Yeah. Right. Like, but then I'll be playing someone, and then they'll write a message, you know, you suck. And it's like, then it reinforces that like everybody hates you. Everybody's laughing at you. Everybody, you know, and it's, oh my God, dude.
Also, I'm sure it doesn't help with chess, like a game that directly rates you on how good you are. Like, you know what I mean? Because similar, like, you know, Tarkov is really the only analogy, because Tarkov's the only analogy I can make, because Tarkov's really the only thing I've spent probably 5,000 to 7,000 hours doing in my life. But I used to say the same thing when people would look at like survival rate, and how the learning curve of getting better at Tarkov means the goalposts move. So like if every single time you ran into a squad you died, you're pretty bad at Tarkov. But now if every single time you run into a squad you kill 2 of them and die to the 3rd, you're objectively better at Tarkov, but your survival rate is exactly the same. So like, don't let that be this push down on you, because like learning this game changes. You can be better and then need to work on a new thing. Now you're good at aim, but you need to work on positioning. Now you're good at positioning, but you need to work on you know, multiple targets and tracking where they are. And I'm sure, I would imagine, and you can speak to that chess is similar, where there's like mountains and plateaus, where like now I'm just into like a new echelon of thinking and looking at these things. But still, every time I lose elo, and every time I win I gain elo. So it's hard to consider yourself as learning a new part of the game when every time you lose you're just like losing this rank that's staring you in the face.
Yeah, and it's also weird in that like there's so many different skills to chess. Like, so not all the scores are the same. So like there are 3 time control groups. There's bullet, blitz, and
and they
rapid.
all have their own elo, right? Like it's their own.
So
okay.
So bullet can be anywhere from 20 seconds, a 20-second game.
That's insane.
20 seconds to like a minute. Blitz can be like, you know, 3 to 5 minutes. And then rapid can be 10 to an hour. So there's different time controls. Now in rapid, the longer time control, that's where I'm 1,000, 1050-ish in that range. That's kind of where that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
It was like good to hit that milestone. But then when I play like Blitz, like the people who play Blitz at 550 are like twice as good than the people that are 1,000. It's really weird. And there's something about being able to make a decision in whatever the average move time is for a 3-minute game. They're just better at making less mistakes in a slightly shorter game than I am. But then when I play Bullet in a 30-second game, I'm like 750 elo. And actually, if I play like a 20 or 30-second game, because it's such a short thing that not a lot of people play, it's almost like the matchmaking can't always find people around 700. So sometimes I'm playing against 1800s, 2000s. But when I lose 0 elo. If I win, I get plus 16. So I'll like rematch them because I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah. You're just interesting.
And that's how I got from 500 to 700. was literally by just playing a bunch of people that were 500 points higher than me and winning 20% of the time.
Interesting.
So it's like, it's really weird. It's almost like and that's almost partially like a flaw with the system in a way, in that I play better against people who are better. So you end up in like this kind of elo hell where it's like, when I was 800, I would play 1100s and I would beat them in 30 moves. But then I would play a 750 and lose an 11. And it's like, what? Like, why?
Yeah.
But then I lose so much more elo than I gain.
Yeah.
So it's just really weird. It's really weird.
I always found myself to like I don't perform well under pressure. Like anytime there's like a ranked thing, like I really get into my head. Like if I got into chess, that would be a really hard thing for me to like get over, is just like the cloud over my decision making is like, how much elo do I lose if I lose this game versus how much do I win? I would always plateau at like ranked games, like whether it was Halo or Call of Duty. I could never like progress because I would just get into my own head, perform worse, lose it, be super frustrated, have a few good games. And there was always wherever it was in each game, there was always this like hard cap where I just couldn't get over the mental of just play the game and let your skill decide. But yeah,
dude, there's something really interesting about elo, and in different games. I remember this was the first time I experienced it was, I think, Halo 2, maybe, like multiplayer. I remember like hitting a point where I just like couldn't progress anymore, and it like didn't make sense to me because I didn't understand that like when you're better than the people, you're going to gain until you get to the point where you're the same skill as the people, in which case you're going to gain 8 elo and then lose 8 elo and then gain 8 elo and then lose 8 elo. So when you have about a 50% win rate, which is the case if you're playing against someone who's basically equal, you know, then that's where your skill is. It's just weird because there were so many games that winning only half the time, it doesn't feel like you're doing well.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm good at a game, I should be able to win more than half the time. But I mean, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
And then there's really interesting stuff. And this will be the last thing before we can move on. The whole idea around like, what's the real difference between elo thresholds, as arbitrary as they are? The whole idea of, and this is something that I've been learning as I've been looking into this cheating thing, the whole like the difference between a 1200 and a 1300 is so much different than between a 1700 and 1800, which is universe different than like 2600 and 2850, right?
That's
like
crazy.
So it's weird in that like a 2850 will beat like a 2700, 90% of the 95% of the time or whatever, whereas at 1400 and a 1200 it's going to be a lot closer.
Interesting.
So that's something that like I'm not super familiar with, but part of it has to do with that anti-cheating stuff, where what the anti-cheat algorithms do, one of the biggest and most popular ones made by this guy Ken Regan, he's a professor at Buffalo University, and he's the one who's like done statistical analyses and like caught over the last few decades, like involved in all of the biggest cheating scandals in chess. And he's like an international master himself and stuff, but it's really, really fascinating how the point of the whole system is to figure out what's the probability that this person would make this move. And it's all based on like, if you're at this rating, the chances of you making these moves this number of times is such and such a thing. So like a cheater, his algorithm will output like the chance of this guy making the moves that he did over these 4 games is like 1 in 100 million.
Yeah.
It's possible, right? But like, it's unlikely. He's not saying the guy's guilty.
Yeah.
But it's just super unlikely. But you also might run across someone where the chance that they make that move is 1 in 1,000. But if there's 1,000 people playing, and then it's like, well, you're gonna see one of these every so often. So it's really, there's this nuance around like how you detect cheating, and honestly, I kind of want to talk to this guy to see if there is some application for his algorithm and like statistical research over a game like Tarkov, where you can look at stats and say, Because imagine being able to look at someone's performance, maybe their kill death ratio or whatever, and be able to say the chances that they're aiming or their mouse movement flicking between people and whatever, the chances that they could do that this many times.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's something there that I think maybe that's in a lot of these anti-cheats, but something tells me that like that kind of analysis isn't in. I don't know.
That'd be interesting. I just thought of this and I find it really interesting. How good do you have to be at chess to like comment, to be like a commentator at a tournament? Because chess seems to be, to me, like a skill that it's like Magnus Carlsen is like in a different universe. Like, do the commentators that are like talk over like these big tournaments just like not understand what's going on? Because like it would just be so hard to be able to think on that level if you weren't that good.
No, I don't think. I mean, you have to be good.
Yeah,
you have to be definitely
know
good.
Chess, but like
they're
exactly
always...
what you were saying. This is what you said that made me think of that. The difference between a 2700 and a 2800 is like this 2800 is always going to win, and so it's like to even be able to like comprehend what those 28 to 2900 people are doing. Do you have to be on that level, or is it just like?
So here's what, at least what I've seen, because you're asking me, an 1,000 elo player, to be able to, like, I can't know, but my gut reaction based on what I know and what I see and whatever is, I mean, most of those guys tend to be titled. They tend to be 2400 plus, which is still like insanely knowledgeable. They know, like, I mean, that's almost more time spent to get to that level than people spent in like college. Just thousands and thousands of hours of just studying, but what you're talking about is kind of like what happens when even like some of the best chess players will look at what the engine recommends. They'll say, why is the best move B6? And then they make the move and go, oh.
Yeah, okay.
Because they see it. But the thing is that when someone makes a move, then you might be able to see the plan. You just would never have thought of that move to begin with.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which is almost kind of like the reverse of you don't think it's a mistake until you drop the piece down, and then all of a sudden it's like, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something to that, but
because that's actually a really good point. That's almost like our brain. You've showed those graphs that you've made of the engine and like all the things, and definitively when a move is made, an almost incalculable number of possibilities go away. So it's like our brain, like somebody places the thing down, and then you just go, your brain's like, okay, throw all this away. And it's like, whoa, I see it now. You know what I mean? Where it was still trying to like parse through or something. So that kind of makes sense.
Where's Waldo?
Yeah.
It's like, where's Waldo? And you're looking at the whole thing. You don't see it, but someone says, look in this little circle over here. You'll instantly see Waldo.
Yeah. So that makes sense. So like if you're a knowledgeable, high ranked chess person and you might not be able to see what's going on in their head, but as the moves are being placed, you can be like, oh, I think
and then there are times where they might not necessarily get the idea until maybe one move later or maybe a minute later or something. Anyway,
that's interesting.
So you've been playing Tark?
Oh yeah. We've been seriously in like the past 5 to 6 play sessions, I think I've survived less than 10 raids. In like 40 or 50 hours of solid Tarkov, I think I've survived less than 10 raids.
And why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm like...
Doesn't it suck to not know, dude?
Yeah, well, I think it's because like partly because I'm just like mentally just like checked out. I'm just like so many times I'm just like running around new boot goofing with the homies. You know what I mean? Like I'm just not... And then partly is like when the servers do feel full, kind of like what we were saying the other day, where it's like I'm just not used to, I'm like late game, I'm just not used to being 6th partied. You know what I mean? I kill a guy, and then I kill the guy that comes up to kill me, and then I kill the guy that comes up to loot that guy, and then I'm just like, all right, I'm going to loot. And then the 9th guy rolls up, and it's like late game, I'm so used to, it's like 2-3 fights maximum. That's pretty much the lobby. There's probably a stash runner, and then we just get out. But it's like a combination of that. Dude, seriously, like, and I'm not even joking, my survival rate at 1500 raids, you have to lose a lot of raids to like have your survival rate tick down, because obviously, right,
the denominators are just a lot.
And so
bigger.
I've lost like 3% of my survival rate. I went from 46 million
That's
rubles.
Huge.
I went from like 46 million rubles to 23 million rubles. Like we're just like hemorrhaging gear and cash. We're just losing every single raid. And it's been memes and there've been good clips. And that's the thing though, is that's the thing about Tarkov, is I can still get like sick plays where I'm like doing really well, and it's just like there's just one more thing, there's just one more guy, there's just one more whatever, you know what I mean? I thought it was a 3-man, it was a 4-man. I thought it was a 4-man, it was a 5-man. So like I'm still getting squad wipes and stuff like that, but like I just have not been able to put it together. So, you know, whatever. We do have a new event. Did you see the new event?
Was it scavs on labs?
Scavs on labs. So scavs can go to labs for free every time. They don't need any special thing. You can scav on labs. It seems like every single event people make up like retroactively. It's like, oh, they're testing out this feature. And sometimes I'm like, maybe. And sometimes I'm like, that's a stretch. It kind of does seem like they're testing like how many actors they can have on a server, because it's unbelievable. Like the event is fun for like it's definitely really fun as a PMC, because you've never played anything like this in an online raid. Like the closest thing is like setting scavs to horde mode and offline. Oh yeah, Gluhar still spawns in labs 100% of the time. So him, all his people, raiders can still spawn the full thing of PMCs, and then player scavs. And I also think whatever logic they have on the back end of like, because like, and actually you might know this better than I do, maybe not, but like it seems like a bunch of player scavs will spawn in at the same time. Or do you think they spawn in like one player scav will spawn in and then one and then another and then another? Like do they kind of do them in batches?
I think it's probably on demand. I don't think it's in batches.
Okay. Well, whatever, like it's hard to tell if it's just because it's labs, but like basically I'm saying is like it feels like player scavs are spawning in more frequently than even like a factory. Like it's just there, it's just nonstop. Like I've scavved in on labs with like 9 minutes left, and there are easily like 75 or 80 countable dead bodies. Like they're just, you know, and that used to be factory, right? Where it's just like they're, you know, every player scavs are swarming in, but it is just nonstop. I've seen a few screenshots. Tiggs and I think Axel both got about 70 kills on their own, like each in separate raids. I saw a screenshot of an 83. Somebody got 83 kills on labs.
Is there any AI scavs, or is it just player scavs?
No, AI scavs everywhere, and player scavs. And
okay, so you get the giant pile of people basically as
it's insane. So like huge pile of the bodies, lots of bugs with like the ragdoll. Like every single labs raid, there's like, you know, like fully like standing up, and then the like, you know what I mean, or like they still has the gun up, it's a scav but it's dead and you can walk through it and stuff like that, like every raid. So it does seem like they are kind of stress testing like how many people can they squeeze, you know what I mean? But it's weird. Like I'll be running around labs and all of a sudden I have 13 frames. And then it just goes right back up, because labs normally runs really well, and then it goes right back up to like 140, and I'm like, oh god! And then you just hear footsteps everywhere, and it's just like
that has to be the bots spawning in.
Yeah, probably the AI. But the event is super fun. The only sad thing is that labs still isn't free for PMCs. So everybody that had cards had a lot of fun with the event for a day. And then you used all your cards and you can only go once every 3 hours now. You know what I mean? So like everyone's scavving in and having fun doing that. But it also like, so it would make sense to me that if this was pre-wipe and they're like going to start adding on to this event, that the next part of it would be that labs is free for PMCs, especially because they have set the standard that, especially this year, that all the events are like very lore driven. And it's like, if scavs are literally just like walking by, like, why do I need to swipe my key card, right? Like, however they're getting in, I want to be able to get in. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, suspend your disbelief.
Yeah. So I want labs free with the scavs, because then it would just be free labs events are some of my favorite events, because then it brings everybody in. Now there's Nothing More to Lose. It's the hatchet runners. It's the Mosin men. It's the medium geared guys. It's the high gear guys, and it's the super sweats. And so the being able to have everyone on labs and AI on labs and Gluhar on labs sounds super fun. But I just, I ran out of cards in a day. I had 15 and I survived one raid, and it was just like, okay, well, I guess we're going to play customs again. So, but the event in and of itself is really cool. It definitely seems like they're stress testing what can be put on, but they released that event with another Chronicles of Ryzhy video where like we thought he was dead because of he like drugged everybody, and that was the last event where everybody spawned in with the like random debuffs or whatever. Or
I don't think anybody would have thought he died if it wasn't for like was it like Dimitri's retweet or whatever?
R.I.P. Ryzhy, yeah.
I actually did watch that.
You watched that one, so you saw Nikita?
Yeah, okay, literally when I saw the car, the like sick, I don't know if it was a Mercedes, I forget now.
Yeah, it was a Mercedes.
I was like, yo, that's probably what Nikita drives. And all of a sudden it pans up and I'm like, no, it's Nikita.
So that was really cool. That was really cool that they and then he tweeted something about how like super proud of these guys, like this is all that team. Like he's like, I'm not even really involved. They just like wanted me to be a part. And so I was like, that's pretty cool. So they did. So the new event has been cool. The Chronicles of Ryzhy thing. So that's the thing. Ultimately, it's like everybody's wondering, is this the start of pre-wipe? Nikita went from being like not very vocal at all on Twitter to like tweeting a bunch recently. And one of the things, like he tweeted something, or BSG tweeted something. Oh yeah, he tweeted like the Chronicles of Ryzhy thing, and then somebody commented and was like, said something, and then Nikita responded to that tweet and said wipe is near, like that, just those 3 words, wipe is near. So like, everyone's like, okay, it's a wipe, and he said, it's near. What does this mean? He tweeted something the other day. He was like, I know, he's like, I know the exact reason why I don't like Decembers for the last 10 years. So like there's been a wipe every December, and so I'm sure he's talking about the crunch and the stress of getting the patch ready and stuff like that. So like the big man himself is like dropping these hints, you know what I mean? They've said they wanted streets out and stuff like that by the end of the year. Every Q&A, they've committed to this thing. So everybody was like, is this the beginning of pre-wipe? Because it would make sense. That event happened. The labs event started on Sunday morning. It's now Thursday. The event hasn't gone away, and we haven't gotten an additional event. So like that's kind of, we're in that like weird holding pattern where like normally events just last a few days. And if this event ends, then we aren't in pre-wipe, right? This event ends, and then some other time we'll start other events. And if they start layering events on, then that's how we kind of know we're in pre-wipe, because that's what they do. It ends up with like, there's like 9 different events. And so everybody's just like, what's going on? And we're just kind of waiting. So maybe we'll see something this weekend. Maybe we won't. Just kind of chilling. I mean, what is it? December 9th or whatever? 8th? So we'll see.
Yeah, I think
Veritas is very concerned on if it's pre-wipe or not.
No, I mean, I think...
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
I think I've been playing chess like 14 hours a day every day. It's like a palate cleanser.
For sure.
To where I think if there's a wipe, it's hard to say, but it's kind of like you know what? I think I could be excited. Yeah. It's been so long that I feel like I don't know. I feel like I was in a rut with Tarkov for a while, that like maybe it's been long enough, right?
Yeah.
That maybe it'll just like feel better for me.
Also, similar thing to what we were talking about with like the ranked thing. If like, I feel like I'm just like at my like plateau where like I'm just dying or kill somebody and it doesn't matter, or I die and it doesn't matter. It's just like nothing's happening. Like I've been talking about this on stream recently. Like whether you're, no matter what era of Tarkov you were from, whether you were like 2017 first batch, whether you came in 2019 with the drops, or if you're new to the game, the one thing we all have in common is that at some point or another, we were all excited for Streets. You know what I mean? And Streets is happening. And so if they do some of these other quality of life stuff, if the servers don't completely explode, which I'm sure they will, and Streets is out, there's no shot that they don't break every record they've ever set for a concurrent player base. There's just going to be a lot of people playing. And if the game is reasonably playable, I do think it will be a fun time because there's just going to be so many people of so many skill sets. There's going to be so much information that we all equally don't know. Like this past wipe was a really rough one for me because nothing was really added. It wasn't a big enough wipe to really bring old players back. So it was just kind of the wipe for like everybody that already loves Tarkov is playing more of it. There wasn't anything new to learn, so everything had already been min-maxed. And it was just like, I don't know, this past wipe just wasn't that exciting for me, but this really feels like it's just going to be a good time. It's not, it just doesn't feel like it's going to be so sweaty. There's going to be a lot of information we all don't know. There's going to be a lot of new players coming to the game. There's going to be a lot of players that haven't played in a while returning. And I feel like it'll be a pretty, as long as it's playable, you know what I mean? As long as it's not like that one wipe where there was like 27,000 person queues to get in the game or something like that. Like, yeah, that would be brutal. But if it's just playable, I think it'll be a good time.
If you're worried, so if you're worried about it being sweaty, or not, sorry, if you're looking forward to it maybe not being sweaty, right? I think one thing to just keep in the back of your mind, and I'm going to want to keep it in the back of my mind, and every content creator and player alike is going to want to keep in the back of their mind, that, I mean, it's just the meta now in the content creator space to speedrun min-maxing.
Oh, for sure.
So, and it's hard to not feel that pressure. Yeah. Where someone's like, you know, it's been 6 hours since the wipe. Someone's already put out a video on the 19 best looting spots, and here's the perfect route to get the maximized money. And to like, there's going to be pressure from people in the comments and people in chat, and also internally for, you know, in me and in you and in all the other content creators and in the players to like try to play a certain way or whatever. Yeah, well, it's hard. I think for all of us to enjoy it the most, we're just gonna need to say like, I get why there's this meta around min-maxing as fast as possible, because that is super popular in terms of content, right? It all started with like, at least in Tarkov, with like Pest getting to level 40 as fast as he possibly could, and then it was who can get to level 70, who can get the kappa, who can get blah blah blah, who can get the tracksuit. You know, everybody's trying to be the first person to get a thing. Yeah, which you know, and some people, they just love that, but
for sure,
but that's not the end all.
No, not at all. And I think when I was talking about it won't be so sweaty, more I'm talking about the ratio of like right now, you know, the amount of people that play 20, 30, 40 hours a week is at its highest. It's towards the end of the wipe, interest is low. So it's just infusing new people into the game doesn't mean that there are less sweaty people. It just means that you encounter them less frequently.
It's watered down.
So it feels less sweaty in general. And then secondarily, it's really interesting what you were just talking about, the whole like min-max thing, because I think that's one of those internet things where people lump a lot of different types of content under the umbrella of, oh, people just like to min-max things. And some of those pieces of content are more subjectively min-maxy. Like, I'm going to make a ton of videos right after the wipe. I'm going to make a ton. But like a lot of the times it's just like, here's an overview of the map. Or I found a really good loot spot. Like if you're looking for cash, here's that. And I feel like that's different than like a video on like, you know, Rengar does the like max trader in 3 days. He tries to get level 42 in 3 days. Both of those content are good. I think they're different. And I feel like they sometimes they fall under the same umbrella a lot of the times, where it's like people just wanting to like, or a quest, right? Like there's a quest, and nobody can figure out where it is. I figured out where it is. I'm going to make a video. Well, now I can complete the quest. I think basically I'm saying I think it's like 50-50. I think sometimes the content is inherently super min-maxy and meta, and sometimes I think the viewer's application of the content of Geeks found a key, he figured out where it went and was like, oh, it goes for this quest, it's great content for him. But Geeks's video isn't inherently like min-max, get everything right now, do this right now. He's like, oh, if you're struggling with this quest, but then the viewer might have that and 14 other tabs open, and they're like plotting a graph on how to get to max level. And so I think sometimes it's the content that's min-maxy, sometimes it's the viewer that's min-maxy, and as a result, a lot of content just gets pushed over. I'm going to make tons of videos after the wipe, and
Well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when I was talking about, it wasn't necessarily like people making content. It was more just the external as well as internal pressure to try to do everything all at once. The best. Where it's like, I just want to try to. Part of this is like telling myself to remember. Just enjoy it.
Have fun. Yeah.
Pump the brakes, slow down, and enjoy learning the map. And enjoy exploring something new and getting that experience, because this is probably the last time you're ever going to feel that. If you're a veteran, the last time you're ever going to remotely feel the like romance over the game.
Yeah, is Streets. That's true. Yeah, realistically.
So, you know, bust out as much content as you want. You know, by all means, everybody can speed run getting whatever, you know, the level, but this is, you know, part of this is convincing myself. Part of this is convincing you, and part of it is telling the community that they all need to shut the up about comparing and all that other. It's just so stupid. Oh, you're level 12.
Yeah.
What happened?
You only
have this much money. You know.
Yeah. No, that
is just a hardcore account. Like, shut the up. Man.
That is a good point. Where it's like, just the information is good and the content is good, but don't let it create fabricated pressure to play a certain way or to do a certain thing or to like go play this map because you feel like you have to. You know what I mean? Like, just have fun. And when you want to consume some of the content, consume it. And if you don't want to, don't. And just don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, I get what you mean. And that's very true. It's going to be interesting. But ultimately, super exciting. I really hope that we get pre-wipe soon. I hope we get the wipe soon. Yeah. And then, like we've talked about many times before, you know what I mean? It's hard to separate the jobbiness as a content creator from it. You know what I mean? On like I hope there's wipe, and I hope there's drops, and I hope my YouTube videos pop, and I hope my thumbnails are good enough, and I hope my titles are good enough, and I hope I can stream enough hours. And it's like, of course, it's like you can't do everything. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be live. I can't be live 24 hours a day and be producing YouTube videos and be a good father and husband, right? And so it's like, it's hard because it's like, you know, it's such an interesting, you know, because like whenever I'm talking to my parents or my wife's parents or people, like a really easy analogy is like running a small business, because that's something that a lot of times they'll understand. They'll be like, oh yeah, like I owned a business, and being your own boss is hard because you can always be working more and you can always be working more. And I'm like, yes, it's exactly like that. Like, I always feel like that. But on the internet, it's interesting because it's the next evolution of that concept of you're your own boss, you can always work more. It's you're your own boss and you can always work more, but your line of work, there's thousands of competitors that are also your friends that are all working all the time, always. You know what I mean? Like, if I owned like a bagel shop, you know, there probably aren't that many bagel shops in my area. So yes, I could always be working more, but I can take a break. But imagine if it was just like 3 miles of complete back-to-back bagel shops. How much harder is it then to say, I need to take Friday off because I'm exhausted?
And there's a Walmart-sized bagel shop literally right across the street.
Yes.
And
Yes. And so it's like, at that point, it's so much harder because it's like everyone's always on, they're always working, they're always doing everything you should be doing all the time, permanently. So every second you're not participating in that, you're watching other people participate in that. So it's like, it's this like next evolution of that feeling when something like this happens, when this big thing happens. And so it's like stressful but exciting, but stressful. And
God, my brain is going into like all of the extending this metaphor all the way through. It's like, imagine someone walks in and is like, yo, everybody, did you guys hear about how good those bagels are 2 doors down? And when there's a bunch of people in line and they're all excited to try out your bagels, and like 3 of them leave to go to the other.
Yes.
And, like, and then he's like, oh, hey, Joe. And you're like, you, man, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
And then someone else comes in here and eats them and like, oh God, I don't like this bagel. I don't like cinnamon raisin. You ordered cinnamon raisin bagel. You came in, you ordered it. You don't like it. Why the fuck would you order it? Oh, I'm gonna go and get another bagel elsewhere. Then go. Nobody has
Johnny
to.
at Bagels just found the new bagel. We've all been looking for it. He found it. Go look at him. And it's like, oh God.
Bagel place across the street has 417 flavors of bagels, dude. You've only got 15. What the f are you doing? What happened? Did your machine break? You're feeling lazy? What's going on?
And that's why we put everything on a bagel, and it creates the center of the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have hot dog fingers.
Oh God, my favorite universe.
Yeah. But yeah, so like obviously it's exciting, and there's a lot, you know, and you know, there's just a lot of cool stuff coming with this wipe, and a lot of potential for the content creator side, a lot of excitement on the gamer side, and just we're just in that holding pattern. I was talking to somebody. My wife was talking to her friend, and she was like, my wife was talking to her friend, and she was like, yeah, like December's gonna be kind of crazy time for my husband at work. And that particular friend happens to know what I do. And she was like, wait, I don't understand.
Why is it crazy?
She was like, there can be a crazy time in video games. Like, she wasn't being mean. She was just like, tell me more. And so we were laughing about that. And I was like, basically, I was like, imagine we all line up to run this marathon. And like the future of the financial stability of our family rests on where I place in this marathon. And the guy holds the gun up and goes, at some point in the next 3 weeks, I'm going to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
What do you do? After 48 hours, do you go home? Do you stay waiting? You know what I mean? This is a really important thing, a really important decision.
Yo, today you're on metaphor. You're 2 for 2 on amazing metaphors.
Hell yeah. So that's where we're at. It's just like, how do you explain that? Like, I'm just like, how's Jesse doing? I'm just stressed all the time, but I'm not mad stressed. I'm happy stressed. I'm excited stressed, but I'm just like, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. You know what I mean?
And I'm going to be the guy where, you know, everybody's hyped up. There's a big ass crowd and they shoot the gun and everybody starts sprinting off and it's crazy. And there's really only 3 people out in front, and then everybody else starts to fall back, even the ones that were waiting overnight for months and months and months. And I show up at like 11 o'clock. I got my coffee,
in the
put the coffee down. No, I show up in jeans and a hoodie, you know, and I'm like, oh, where's the changing room? Nah, I'll just go back home and change, you know, and then I roll up and I like get to the starting line at the track while, you know, they're already on like lap 17. And it's like, man, I'm just going to enjoy jogging, you know.
That's so true.
Because in my opinion, it's like almost one of those things. I would care if I was going to be number 1, but being number 1 would involve taking a toll on my life in whatever way that it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to me. So
and
if we're not going to be number 1, like number 5, number 3, it doesn't matter to me.
I totally understand that, but I am addicted to climbing it one at a time. Like, you know what I mean? In the proverbial rank, if I was 69 last time, like I am addicted to like, I need to make sure that I'm 60th this time, or 58 or 50. Like, you know what I mean? Like I am completely, and that's what keeps me motivated. Like that's like so many times we've had this conversation before many times on the stream, but recently, because we're at the end of the wipe, a lot of people are like, man, what keeps you motivated to play this game? And I was like, oh, streaming it. Like, this is my job and I want to be better than everyone else at that job. That, like, you know what I mean? It's like, if I was like, I don't play this game offline. You know what I mean? I play it because what's fulfilling to me is still the work side of it. The addiction to becoming a better streamer, a better YouTuber, a better content creator. While the shine of my love for Tarkov has rubbed off a little bit, I'm still so addicted to becoming that's what like gets me super excited. And like, once again, I always have to say that doesn't mean I hate Tarkov. I still love Tarkov, but that's the motivation. That's what keeps me going, is that like I love building the community and growing it. And you know what I mean? Like we're so close to 100,000 followers on Twitch, and I'm like super pumped. And I know some people, man, some people it's like they can't do it. The numbers, like they don't work about the numbers, and that's fine. Like it's just like for me, that's what just keeps me going. That's what keeps me exciting. It keeps it exciting for me. I want to grow. I want to keep growing.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm with you. Like, you know, in
sure.
this metaphor, I got like a bronze medal podium finish a few years ago,
Yeah.
and then recognized that the grind to be 1 or 2 isn't. I don't care about the money, and I don't care about putting in that much time and effort. So it's just not worth it. And then at that point, you're only going to get older and slower and worse.
Yeah.
So I'm totally fine with like, yeah, I'll be 50th, and then I'll be 75th, and then I'll be 80th, and that's fine because it'll happen to everybody.
Yeah.
Landmark, there's going to be a time where he's washed up and slow and tired.
Yeah.
Just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a bunch of cracked younger kids that are going to be way better and more popular.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, that like at some point during the Tarkov journey and during your streaming journey, you were able to get like a bronze medal. Like there was like a season of time.
I had 100,000 concurrent viewers, 24 hours.
And I never have. I've never. And that's the thing is that like you had that and you recognized that like similar to chess, the difference between 2600 ELO and 2800 ELO, you hit bronze and you were like, that's a decision. Like if you want to go for silver or gold next year, you're not doing anything else ever. And you were like, no, like I'm super happy with that. And now you're like loving it. And I started, you know, and when you were there, I had started later than you. So I was so far down here and I'm working my way up here. And so like, I'm still finding that. I'm still like hungry and searching for that moment where I hit that, where I'm like, to get that next level, I'm sacrificing more time with my family in this, and I'm good. You know what I mean? But I haven't hit that yet. And so that I haven't had that 100K. I want that. You know what I mean? Just like those things, which once again, we all recognize that in and of themselves don't matter. The difference between 96,000 followers on Twitch and not 100,000 is nothing. But it's a thing that my monkey brain grabs onto, and it's
like earning Kappa container. It's like
exactly. It motivates me to do the thing, and it motivates me to attempt to do it really well. And so like those, I can hold both of those things. I can understand that realistically, there's no difference between 100K and 98K, but I can still leverage this thing that I know truly doesn't mean anything to create meaningful things, which is me working really hard to just grow and be better and hone my craft. So. So yeah, so all that to say, I'm excited and I'm just camping out at the starting line, waiting for Nikita to pull the freaking trigger. You know,
you're in line waiting for your iPhone before it releases.
I've done that many times.
Yeah.
I'll
wait until they're on sale secondhand on Craigslist.
I did that one time. I worked at the Apple store and I camped out at it to get a phone, and then I came into work later because we didn't get access to them. Like we had to buy them like everybody else. I know. Dude. That was a long time ago. Some other like miscellaneous Tarkov things. I guess this has been in the game for a while, but it happened to me. I was on labs and I was scavving on labs and I died to a PMC, and I was like, yo, chat, where was that guy? And we watched the clip back, and then I was like, Jay was still on the raid. I was like, bro, is that guy hacking? Like, that guy's hacking, because on my end, there was nobody. And the bullets were just M62 green tracers were appearing out of thin air and then shooting me. And I was like, and it just didn't seem like it was desync. Like he was behind a box. Like it seemed like he was just not there. He was invisible. And I was like, I'm going to report him. And Jay was like, no. Like I just got into a fight with him. He killed me, but it was super legit. And I was like, what? Anyways, that guy, he's actually in chat right now. He like tagged me on Twitter and he was like, yo, I didn't mean to seem sus. And he sent me the clip, and he was literally standing right in front of me. He was looting somebody, and he heard me run around the corner, and he just turned around and saw me and just shot at me. But at PMC, he was completely invisible to me. Like I have both of the clips. And I think like the day before, like Gingy and somebody else had a similar clip where like a player scav was completely invisible to them, or even like
did you hear the sound?
I can't remember if I heard that. No, I heard the sound of the gunshots, but he didn't move around enough for me to hear him like running. He was basically looting and he just like got up, just turned around and shot me. But I heard the sound of his bullets.
Weird. I mean, you would think
he was like completely invisible.
So fascinating.
But not to Jay. So it wasn't like something that was happening where like he was just invisible to everybody. Jay saw him. It was just me that didn't see him. It was super weird.
What the? Dude, that's wild. Like, you would think that
crazy.
Whatever's like responsible for rendering would also be responsible for like playing the audio from that like actor.
Yeah.
That's got to be some whack ass bug, dude.
Crazy.
Holy
because
shit.
I died and I was like, man, he must have been behind that thing. And a lot of times when I died, I was like, yeah, let's watch it back. And then I was like, oh no, he's hacking. And then I was like, oh no, he was just invisible. like 2 hours later when he tagged me on Twitter and he was like, hey bro, here's my perspective. And
yeah, I mean, that's invisibility has been a core unlockable skill that you can use randomly against your will for years now.
So it's just like, it's just another one of those things where like, you know what I mean? Like to 99.99, to literally everybody that doesn't have like a stream of hundreds of people watching, that would have been a misconnection. You know what I mean? There's no shot that guy would have known that he was invisible to the other player. So he wouldn't have known to tag that guy on Twitter and say, hey, here's the clip. And the other guy would have definitely reported him. You know what I mean? Like,
is that what the misconnection section on Craigslist?
Yeah, I think it was always video games, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been.
Yeah. That's what I always assumed. So that was just a little fun Tarkov tidbit.
It's gonna remove misconnections from the story time later.
Oh my god.
KW.
And then another little crazy fun tidbit was this Reddit thread was blowing up, but in a positive way, which is not normally what's happening. But like everyone's retweeting it. This guy, he got 2 billion rubles by only playing his scav. He acquired 2 billion rubles and he posted a bunch of videos and he went into a scav raid and his scav was level 56. His scav had elite.
What's his cooldown?
So I think he played enough of his PMC because I think his PMC was level 30 to get Intel Center level 3 to get that buff. But I don't like. I read the thread, but really quick. I don't think he kept any like the money or gear or something. I don't know. Either way, even if he kept all the money and gear, that's nowhere near like, you know, at level 36, I have 200,000 rubles. You know what I mean? I don't have. So, but he went into a scav raid and showed he's got elite strength, endurance, attention, search, perception, like health, like literally everything. He had 2 billion. He had like a 78% survival rate on his scav. And he played like thousands of raids, dude.
He must not have a ton
of raids.
I would imagine to have those stats, you would have to be fairly risk averse.
Yeah,
like he probably doesn't have a ton of kills and a super high KD, right?
Yeah,
like
I don't know. I could pull it up, but yeah, he probably was really passive and just like making money because he said that was his goal. Like his goal was to make a bunch of money. So he probably played exclusively Lighthouse and like Rogue Farm, really passive against PMCs. But yeah, I mean, 4,822 raids, right? I'm level 61 and I have 1,600 raids. I just checked yesterday. I have 1,600 raids, Veritas. 4,822 raids, 3,649 survives.
Jesus.
Legend.
So yeah, apparently he does 99% of the raids on reserve. Yeah, so I mean, like, it kind of makes sense.
Legend.
It makes sense if your cooldown is short enough. Just considering how long it takes to put your inventory, sell the stuff you want to do, like that, you know, if it's only a couple of minutes, then you can basically be playing full time on your scav. And the benefit of that, at least toward, you know, working towards what you were saying, how to make all that money, is that you don't lose money ever.
Yes.
it's only ever, it's only ever going up.
Exactly. You either die and nothing happens, or it goes up. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty sick. But yeah, so 4,822 raids, 1,288 kills. So like that's an average of like a kill every 3 raids or 4 raids. Which makes sense because you're not killing players, you're not killing player scavs, you're not killing AI scavs, you're probably killing. And if he does it on reserve, that also makes sense because that kill number would be super inflated if he did more lighthouse because you can kill rogues without any consequence. So, but I just thought, I just found that to be like, damn, that's because I thought the same thing where I was like, okay, well, he doesn't spend money on anything. I've spent 158 million rubles through therapists. I've spent a lot of money, but I was like, 5,000 raids. I was just like, damn, like you gotta respect it. That's so many raids on a scav. That's a ton of time. That's a ton of dedication. That's a huge survival rate. My survival rate on my scav was like 30% because I just like shift W everything. And so I was like, that was just like a little fun tidbit in there that came up in the Tarkov community where everybody was like, damn, good job.
I wonder how much of that is like rush to see if you can find the dead boss and the guards and the leftover shit that they have.
Yeah.
Grab it and leave.
Yeah.
Because you could be in there for 90 seconds, not get a run through or whatever. Not that it even really necessarily matters, except for the survival rate stat.
Yeah.
And then just get out and sell the shit. And you have a, yeah. I mean, not to mention all of the, God, if you have a decent backpack, and you just fill it with literally go to a filing cabinet, go to all 8 of the drawers, take out everything in those drawers. It's hundreds of thousands of rubles.
Yeah. The thing is that like no matter how fast you get in or out, you still have that cooldown. So it's still like,
what's the shortest cooldown possible?
Like 5 minutes.
That's enough time to just sell on the flea market.
Yeah, and that's not a lot, but that's still a hard capped. You can't like dip it on your stash, run back in, dump it on your stash, run back in, dump it on your stash. Like, you can't like get on a roll. You're on that. But I definitely agree that like and that's why I've said it's people get so, somebody said his flea rep is over 250, which is nuts because my flea rep's like 11.
Must be cheating. I must be cheating, right?
Yeah. Oh, you were saying like, it's hard because like, newer people to the game get frustrated when I say this, and I understand why because the game is really hard, but it's really not hard to make money. Like, you know what I mean? If you were just like really like I just want to make money, you know what I mean? It's like everything is valuable. Get a backpack, run away from every gunshot you hear. And it might not be the most engaging gameplay, but like you can make lots of money. I actually just watched a video today and I should find it so I can like credit him in the show notes. I need to find it in my history. But he was basically like, he had done a few videos about how easy it was to make money as a scav on Lighthouse. And a bunch of people were like, the premise of the video was he was saying, people keep telling me I'm cherry picking raids and only making videos about the best raids. He was like, so I'm going to do an uninterrupted experiment where I just do 10 raids. I've deleted everything in my stash. I'm just going to do 10 raids, Lighthouse only, scav only. And I'm going to see how many I survive and I'm going to see how much money I make. And he survived 9 of the 10 raids. And when you include the death, he averaged 620,000 rubles worth of loot per raid. So it was like 6.2 million. And he did it because he had reset his account. So he didn't even have access to the flea market. So it was like 5 million rubles that he got from selling everything to the trader. And he had a buddy he looked at some of the like Tarkov.dev or some of the website or the flea market tracker for like the active prices. And then he calculated how much you can make. And it was like the man just freaking crushed it, making tons of money as your scav. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so part of that has to be the idea of if I had a challenge or, was challenged or wanted to do an experiment or whatever, and it was like for X raids, that already... I'm not trying to like invalidate the point. It's just kind of to put it in perspective. That's so different than if you're just playing for 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a different mindset. The reason why I die in basically every raid I go into is because I'm just trying to play and play it normally and not like really maximize, right? But if someone had a gun to my head in real life and said, survive this raid, I would survive the raid, because I would take the long, safest possible, you know, do all the things that is just so much annoying work and whatever to really min-max. That it's like, you can do a ton of stuff to get your chances of survival up to 90, or you can do nothing to have it be 50, or you can do a decent amount and make it 60. And it's like, is that decent amount? Like, you can just kind of, you know, so.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, is like, I'm not like, ultimately it's like, play however you want to play. So some people just genuinely find value and joy in playing that way and just like doing that. And the exact opposite is true. I don't do that. Ever. I don't do money runs. I scav Lighthouse, but I always try to kill all the rogues, and 60% of the time they one-tap me from 300 meters away because I'm being an idiot. So like, I don't do money runs on my PMC. I don't do scav runs where I'm not looking for combat. I'm always looking for combat, and I do just fine. It's just play how you want to play. I just find it interesting and funny, and like when people are like struggling to make money, I'm like, you know, put a little bit of effort into avoiding conflict on your scav raids and you can make a lot of money. I ultimately long for the day, and I don't know if this is going to happen, so I'm not going to stand up here and say, well, Nikita wants this. I don't know. What Jesse wants is I long for the day where money is not as valuable as it is right now. And I don't mean like the ruble is as valuable. I just mean like where having a stack of 10, 15, 20, 40 million rubles is as beneficial to me. You know what I mean? Like,
it never has been until the flea market and availability of everything, which is why, again,
well, the
whole civilian flea makes much more sense, because all of that money can't be used to purchase infinite favorite guns and favorite armor and favorite ammo all the time. It can be helped to buy things for crafting or for quests or whatever, but
it was the flea market, and it's the traders. And that's the thing, is that like the thing, I actually made a video about this recently. I called the video "The Flea Market's Not the Problem," and I was talking about how like one of the most overlooked things is that like every wipe since the flea market was added to the game, more meta stuff gets added to the traders. And now, so I did in that video, I did an experiment and I show a picture, and the picture is like 3 meta M4s, 2 meta RD704s, 2 meta mutants, 2 meta 7.62 MDRs, and a few SR25s. And I was like, every single thing that you see on this screen, every gun, every attachment, every flashlight, every suppressor, every optic, every red dot, I can buy every 3 hours without the flea market. And so it's like, the flea market was a linchpin in the community. And when people who don't want the flea market in the game or want it changed, which I want the flea market changed, a lot of time we go back to that moment and be like, you could barely buy anything from the traders. But that's an invalid comparison, because now you can buy everything from the traders. Sometimes it's just cheaper on the flea market, you know what I mean? But like, you can buy everything from the traders. And so like, I really do long for a day where like, the traders and the flea market are so much more limited, and there's so much less stuff you can buy, and actually like finding stuff and hoarding stuff for later use. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, like one of the biggest, most annoying things for me has always been, and this is where I can empathize with the people saying, I wish it was easier to make money, because it's not hard to make money, but it is hard to make money, especially if you're solo, playing in the way that a lot of us want to play.
Yeah.
Which is like PvP, you know, solo, not focusing on looting and not instantly trying to get out the moment you get the first valuable thing.
Yeah.
So a combination of increasing the amount, well, decreasing the amount of just garbage, like you know, 9x18 ammo boxes all over the place. Decreasing that, but increasing the variety and amount of interesting, cool things in raid, and then drastically reducing what's on the flea market and what's on the traders, now makes it so that maximizing money is not the point.
Yeah.
And it's because if you're good enough and you want PvP and whatever, if there's like meds in the raids,
yes,
and if there's guns in the raids and attachments in the raids, it makes the raids a lot more interesting. It makes it a lot more fun, and it makes it so that the goal is not to farm cash, so that you can then play the game how you want.
And whenever I explain that, the most often response I get is like from a casual player, and it's like, yeah, but that like you want to make everything harder to get for the chads, you're going to make it harder to get for me, and I already can't get it. And it's like, man, you are missing it. Like, it's flying right over your head. If you're playing the video game, if you're in a raid, you're now 10 times more likely to find a cool and interesting gun or attachment or optic in that raid. Like, you come to my chat and you say, I'm struggling to make cash. How do I make cash? Why do you want to make cash? You want to make cash because you want to buy the cool stuff. And the only way to get the cool stuff is to buy the cool stuff. So you have to grind up your trader level, and you have to grind up cash to get the cool stuff. Well, I'm saying it's like, what we can do is we can skip that. And if you're just playing the raid, you can just find the cool stuff. And yes, of course, the people that play more will find more. But as long as you're finding enough to have fun and interesting raids, if you've played 10 raids a night and you're finding 3 interesting kits, well, cool. You've got like a 30%, you know, of like you're finding really cool stuff. If I play 30 raids a night and I find 10 interesting kits, that ratio is still the same. So we're all finding cool things and experiencing that in raid gameplay loop, and it benefits. And ultimately, a 30% chance of finding cool gun is infinitely less than my current percent. My current percent is 100%. I get exactly what gun I want every raid, permanently. I want a grenade launcher, I have it, because I have the money to buy all the barter items off the flea market. So what we're doing for you, the casual player, is increasing the amount of times you get a cool gun, because right now you get a cool gun 1% of the time, and we're drastically decreasing it for the chads. And what's crazy is I still have this tab up. I can't play the audio through because I'm not going to sit here and route it. But like Landmark's YouTube channel got me. He got me on a clickbaity title, and it was like thoughts on the upcoming wipe. And he talked about it for like 3 minutes, but the rest of the video was just a highlight video. But what he ended up doing was he went on a rant about the economy, and I couldn't have agreed more with every single thing he said. He literally was like, man, he was like, I really just wish that access to good stuff was reduced, and it was like less contingent on just how much money you had and this and that. And I was like, oh my God, like, it's crazy how people, he's got a completely different play style than I do. He's on a completely different level than I do. And he was thinking the exact same thing. That it was like he listened to an episode of the podcast. Like, I'm telling you, it was the exact same stuff you and me talk about all the time. And I know he doesn't listen to podcasts. I'm just saying that everybody, even people of completely different play styles, you have a different play style than me. We both have a very different play style than Landmark. And yeah, I don't know.
Dude, okay, this is the third metaphor of the stream.
Yes.
You know what it feels like to me? You ever go to the arcade? And when I go to the arcade, I a couple times a year, me and my wife, we go up to York, Maine. Really beautiful, like, beach.
Okay.
You know, it's like the little York, like, lighthouse on the, and it's just like a New England coastal small little towns where we got married. But there's like a little area where you can get like fried dough and these epic snow cones, and there's like a little carnival area. But there's a little arcade there, and we always go to the arcade, and there's like one of those, a couple of those like Time Crisis kind of gun games, and you know, a few of those, and I love playing those games. But they give you like, I can be on like a 900 kill streak and get to level whatever, and it might spit out like 6 tickets, you know. And then my wife will go over to that game where it's just a dump truck full of quarters, and there's a little metal shaft that just goes back and forth, and you put a quarter in, and it rolls down the thing, and if you get it onto like the little lever, the anemic little lever, it like spits out.
Yep.
And she'll play that thing for like 30 minutes, and she'll win one time, and she just makes infinite everything. And it's like, would you I guess my frustrations with how Tarkov feels sometimes is everybody's saying, dude, it's easy to get tickets at the carnival, just go and play the dump truck game until you make it big. Where it's like, I want to play all the other fun games, but they don't give you anything. And then you see a few other people playing one game that's fun, but it's like the game where everybody's around hitting the buttons when like the lights going around, and it's like, if you play in a group, one person's always going to win, so it's like playing in a group is beneficial. But when you play solo, unless you play this particular way, on this particular game that most people don't find fun, you're never going to I'm going to walk out of there with exactly 2 of those little vanilla Tootsie Rolls. Yeah. And she's going to have like, you know, just an armful of from the little prize thing from all the tickets that she gets. And it's like, I just wish that the Time Crisis or, you know, whatever, the little the skee ball or all these things, I just wish they spit out more tickets. That's all. I just wanted to spit out more tickets.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And so, like, I don't even remember how we got there, but yeah, I just think that, I would love for just playing the game to be the way that people have fun, because then it suits every play style, and there's more dynamic kits, there's more dynamic loot, and I mean, we've beat this horse to death because all this stuff comes into play, where if you make more of the attachments viable, then it means you have a higher likelihood of finding a good attachment, and that means there's different diversity in builds instead of just like, this is the one meta way to build this gun and there's no use in building this gun any other way. And so there's a lot of stuff to it. But yeah, it was just like, it was vindicating to hear somebody else talk about it in a similar way that we have before. And I just think, you know, I haven't been able to find somebody. A lot of people, either in a comments or in Twitch chat or in a TikTok or whatever, will comment frustrations, but those frustrations are 99.99% of the time meaning they didn't understand. I haven't yet found a single reason why that wouldn't be, like, why it's a bad idea. You know what I mean? Why that wouldn't work? Because I feel like it
wouldn't work if they did it wrong.
Well, of course.
See, and I
don't surmise that I know exactly the way to do it, right? Because when you really get into the weeds of, there are tons of attachments, there are tons of ammos, maybe this ammo needs to be balanced, and then you get into the spaghetti code, which is what we said, where so many things touch so many other things, it can be a really daunting task. So I don't come on this soapbox of saying I know exactly how to do it, but
there's not a person on planet Earth that knows how to do it.
Yeah.
It's something that would be, you need to go through and tweak and change and fine tune over the course of months and months and months and months and months, using like actual analytics and data and, you know, player opinions and experiences, anecdotes and all that other stuff. And it would take, but that all, it, you know, is hinged upon somebody who's capable of that deciding that that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
And then going through and doing it right. But I don't think that anybody on BSG has that same, or at least I have no reason at thinking that this idea is something that Nikita is like a priority for him. And if it was, I don't know that whoever would be tasked to do it could pull it off properly.
Yeah.
So there's your, I guess, doom and gloom.
Yeah, I mean, it's understand. I mean, we'll see. You know what I mean? We'll see, because like, there's a lot of things that they've talked about really wanting to just kind of shelf until they get the game in a more complete state. We know that, like we talked about last week, a really big question that pertains to this exact thing is the, like, how do in-raid traders work, right? Because, like, what I just said was that I currently believe that the most egregious thing plaguing the economy is the trader stock, not the flea market. That's my assertion. And if the answer is, well, we don't want to change the trader stock because they're all going to be in raid, I'm like, oh damn, yeah, don't spend thousands of development hours changing it if you're going to do that. I guess we should do that and then go from there. So it's like, it's hard because we'll see how they want to do it. But I just think, like, ultimately, and even I'm seeing like lots of conversations in the chat of people that I feel like don't understand. I feel like it's about creating an economy that, like you were saying in the arcade analogy, isn't just like, this is the one way to do it. And right now, that one way to do it is money. It's just get money, get money, get money, then buy whatever you want, which renders 90% of the gear useless, because if you have the money to buy whatever you want, you're always going to buy the best. So it's about creating an economy where the gear, you know, it's like in an MMO, right? Like, if, you know, you've got your gray, your green, your blue, your purple, and your gold gear, right? You know, like, those are the colors. If day 2, every enemy you fight starts popping out golds, it's like, then why have the rest? So it's like,
you buy the battle pass when you spawn in, a box spawns in next to you with all the purple items.
So like we're snakes, the whole spectrum needs to be valuable and needs to be usable, and an actual negative of MMOs is almost solved by Tarkov. In MMOs, once you get the orange gear, the legendary, you're never going backwards. What's beautiful about Tarkov is if they nail this right, we're all fluctuating because we're having really good days. We have a few really good guns. We take out our really good kits. We die with those kits, and now I'm using the blues and the purples again. And then I find some purples and oranges, and then I get confident and I use the orange. And that is like a really elegant solution to that, where we're all using all the stuff all the time. If it's all usable, which once again, like we've said, a lot of it isn't. An M4, a stock M4 is just like, so it feels like you have to use it. So balance there. So it's about creating an economy that isn't just singularly focused on finding money, and then the money is to buy the legendary gear because only legendary gear is worth it. And then the other side of it is creating an economy where it's much more balanced around you are rewarded for investing more time, but it's not gatekeeping where it's like, I have max traders so I can buy whatever I want whenever I want. You don't have enough time to play to get to max traders. You can't buy anything valuable ever. And that's where we're at. So anytime I talk about that, where I'm like, we need to compress that a little bit, people are like, well, then why would I play? Why would I grind? And it's like, there's a way to do it. Like, calm down. If it's all spawning in raid, the more you play, the more you find, the more you'll have. Yeah. But we're not gatekeeping the good gear from everybody else. You know what I mean? It's like, it all becomes rarer, but we can all find it now. Everybody. And to me, that feels much more balanced and fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, what we want, we don't know how to get there.
Yeah,
we're not claiming to know exactly how to get there, because I mean that's literally an impossibility. Yeah. For us to be able to do offhand right now. But it would make it so that the person whose first wipe it is on their second week, they never will ever shoot right now an RSAS with a couple of attachments on it. They never will. In this case, they will maybe twice this wipe.
Yeah.
And then the person who runs a meta mutant and a fort and an alt in every single raid will get to run that maybe twice.
Yeah.
And maybe the level 11 Timmy might find that in raid once or twice in a wipe, and they might lose it. But it's making what we want is to make it so that the people who have no opportunity at all to get the things for whatever reason, get them some amount of the time, and the people who always have it shouldn't always have it. That is more of the Tarkov experience. If you take the people with a 90% survival rate and whatever you need to do to make it so that they're surviving 60% of the time, and the people that never survive ever are surviving 30% of the time instead of 10, I think overall, the overall happiness of Tarkov will go up.
I agree. And it's so hard to, we've talked about this so many times, and you and me are so in sync with how we feel about this, and people just consistently either misunderstand or don't see it. You know what I mean? Like, it's truly painful to me, almost physically, when somebody says at Jesse Kazam, and then what they say is like the problem they say it'll create is the exact problem the idea solves, not creates. Like, the problem they say my idea will create is a problem that's already in the game, and this idea solves that problem, but I'm being told the idea will create the problem that already exists. It's painful. You know what I mean? It's like, you just like, because it's like, I understand that you're passionate about it, but you just like so don't understand what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Don't you think if you remove the 1 bagel per person limit, then all the people that buy 150 bagels, then the one guy who comes in and buys all the bagels in the morning is going to be mad that he's not going to have access to 150 bagels? Yeah, but 150 other people are going to be able to buy bagels.
And why I brought up Landmark earlier was because most of the time, the people that are saying, well, then the Chads won't be able to buy whatever they want, so they'll be mad, aren't the Chads. And the Chads are the ones saying, I don't want to be able to buy anything I want.
They want to feel alive again.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's insanity. It's understandable. The Rengars, the Hyperrats, the Landmarks, they're addicted to performance. And so right now they only and they exclusively use the best because it's available to them and they want to perform well. And of course, like we said many times, All of this is woven into ammo needing to be rebalancing and recoil needing to be rebalanced for sure. But they want to perform the best, so they're always going to have the best. But it's crazy. And it's like, you, the viewer, you haven't. I have had conversations. I've had Rengar and Tiggs and HyperRat on a podcast. You and me had Rengar and HyperRat at our podcast at TwitchCon. Landmark has put out a video. I've talked to these people and they all say the same thing. They're like, dude, I wish I couldn't just buy this whenever I wanted. And so then when people who aren't in that upper echelon group of players say like, well, but what about the Chads? Because they wish they were a Chad. They're not a Chad. They're defending the Chads, and they're defending a position the Chads don't even hold. The opinion is this, that they want this too. You know what I mean? And then, of course, there are some people, like I heard Axel talking about the other day. Somebody asked him, like, what's your favorite part of the wipe? And he was like, end wipe. And everybody was like, what? Like, everybody loves early wipe. And he was like, I love when I know everybody has the best thing available to them, because that means skill is the driving force of like, I win. And I was like, man, I so respect that opinion. Like, it's totally understandable to me that there are people out there that want, drumroll please, the arena. The arena. He was saying he was super excited for arena. You know what I mean? Like, it's not surprising to me that people hold that opinion, and I don't find that opinion to be invalid or wrong. So like, I loved that he said that, because I was like, dude, I totally get that. I was like, Axel's nuts. Like, he's so good at this game and he wants to play with people at that high level, and that's why he's super excited for the arena. But for Tarkov, for this, a lot of the people up at the top, a lot of the Chads, a lot of the stuff that, you know, abuse these mechanics or whatever people say to make everyone feel guilty, they all want this too. They don't want everything to be accessible permanently by everyone, because then it makes everyone feel like they have to run that in order to survive, you know?
Yep.
I'm off the soapbox. I'm sorry. It's just like, yeah, it's just, there's a difference between disagreeing and misunderstanding. And that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. I haven't really met anybody that's been able to disagree and be like, oh, I just genuinely think that would be unhealthy for the game for this reason. I'd be like, interesting. It's always, I think you're wrong because of what this. And I was like, no, I said that first. I said that. And then you just said those same words back to me in a disagreement somehow. Like, you clearly don't understand.
Welcome to my life. Welcome to, it's literally just, I disagree because here's my misunderstanding, miscategorization, straw man of what I think your argument is, and here's why I disagree. It's never, I heard your logic and here's the flaw in your logic. It's never that. I would love that.
Because I'm all about that. Yeah.
I'm rock hard for that. Tell me what the flaw in the logic or the flaw in the reasoning or whatever. That's what I want, right?
Yeah.
But the problem, that's the whole like dialectic, the whole discussion, the whole argument. I thrive on that, but you just don't get that ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Indeed.
The only other Tarkov thing was they released some really cool concept art for the new Sriracha boss. Well, I actually think we talked about that last week. I can't remember when they released.
See the one that looks like the antlers on his head or whatever?
But they did the little trailer that was in like 360p and it was dark, so you couldn't see anything. But then they released like a really cool like art screenshot of him, and it's super sick. And he's got the AXMC with the Reap IR. But I think we talked about it last week because we were talking about how he wouldn't use the Reap IR because he's AI, so it would just be a way to farm Reap IRs. And so
I said he reminded me of True Detective Season 1.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Indeed.
So that's all the Tarkov news. We're hoping for, just please God, be pre-wipe. I'm hoping to just get over the sickness, get out of the way, feel good, immune system feeling good, and then we can wipe, and then I can not see my family for 6 weeks. Really quick, because it's adjacent to Tarkov. Did you check out that video that I sent you?
No, I hadn't yet. No,
it's fine. It's a long one, and a lot of times when you send me stuff like that, I can't. But we talked about the line goes up video on the podcast, right? Like one of us sent it to each other, and we both watched that video. The whole cryptocurrency thing.
Yep.
Line goes up. It's that guy, and it's like an hour and 15-minute long video, and the video is called "Why It's Rude to Be Bad at World of Warcraft," and it just sucked me in, bro.
It's better than, because I don't give a about Warcraft.
No, me either.
So it's better than the title.
Yes. I don't care about World of Warcraft either, but it was everything. It addressed in like the exact way you like to consider. I mean, articles, sources, everything. And what you talked about earlier. Basically, the video is about the internetification of gaming and min-maxing and everything being meta and the social repercussions of that, and how and that's how you can start to see how he arrives at that, like that it's rude to be bad, and all this stuff, and he interviews some WoW players and some of their guilds, and there were instances where clearly and objectively it was so useless to be mad about this specific gear, but this guy was getting kicked out of the guild because it just wasn't the meta, and everything we in Tarkov, where it's things are meta just because people say they're meta, not because they're actually better. And then you get people who then regurgitate back to you, the people that found out that this thing was meta, that it was meta, but now it's been a game of telephone and they don't even know why. All this stuff. And when you think about it, World of Warcraft was probably the original game to go through this, because the game's been out since the 90s. You know what I mean? So it's centered on World of Warcraft, but the gaming and internet and social repercussions of YouTube and min-maxing, that's what the video's about, and it was so good. I'll link it in the show notes if anybody wants to watch it, but it was a really good video.
All right, yeah, I'll watch that tonight.
I kept thinking about Tarkov the whole time, and I was just I was in physical pain the whole time.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and I'll check that out. I found two channels that I unfortunately have binge watched all of the videos. They're all gone. But so the first one is I think it's Michelle Carre, I think is how you pronounce her name. I came across because there was a video. I trained a chess grandmaster.
Oh.
And I think she took part in that whole PogChamps thing that I talked about. But she had let me get spell her last name, Michelle. It's Khare.
Her thumbnails and titles are great. I want to watch all her videos.
Phenomenally good. Yeah, but I tried Secret Service Academy. Yeah. I tried SWAT Academy. I tried the Army. I tried Flight Attendant Academy.
I ran a marathon in the hottest place on earth.
That was dude, literally I was in tears at the end. Actually there's still a bunch that I haven't watched yet. Actually, she has a ton.
Dude, that's really
more than I thought,
cool.
But they're really, really cool. She's super, just seems like a super cool, genuine chick. Her content is amazing. The production value is insane. Yeah, top notch content. I would recommend. It's really cool if you're into any of that. I mean, there's literally everything in there. The other one, I'm trying to remember. I think it might have been one of the homies from the stream, Ultimate. I'm not sure. I think he's the one that recommended it to me. But Melody Sheep. Have you seen Melody Sheep?
Mm-mm.
So dude, first of all, one of the first videos I saw of his was called Chili Wonka, and it's a chill hop remix, kind of trippy, lo-fi song with the whole Willy Wonka video, the original Willy Wonka movie. But it's amazing. Wonka. It's amazing, dude. The song is super good. It's amazing. But then some of his videos are The Secret History of the Moon, Life Beyond, episodes 1, 2, 3. So Life Beyond, the Museum of Alien Life, The Sounds of Space, a sonic adventure to other worlds, The Sights of Space, Binary Dreams, how AI sees the universe. It's unbelievable. And all of this stuff, I mean, look at see all the thumbnails. They're the most amazing, epic looking planets. I don't even know how yet. I started to look into how. I mean, he must use Blender, and he models all of these things, and it's literally interstellar level animations and stuff. Sick. But it's all just this guy, and he makes all his own music. And it's just this epic. Yes, and it's amazing because it's not music I mean, he could, I'm sure, like release a lot of the music, but it's like a score for a movie.
Yeah, more than it is like a song.
He edits it along, and I've done this exactly once, and I did it for my chess documentary where I came up with the intro, what I wanted to talk about, and then it was like, okay, it's 4.5 minutes long, so the song needs to crescendo at this thing, and then I would need to cut here, and I made the script, the music, and the video all at once. Where normally you can just do the voiceover, throw B-roll over the top of it, and then put any song and just fade in and fade out at the, but that's like, but it's just a little bit more around like having the crescendo and the build up, and then have it
at the
change
exact
into
moment.
another. Yeah. It's like one score for a 20-minute video basically, and it's all like orchestral, but then also like synth wavy and futuristic.
That's sick.
Dude, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Dude, the best video. The best video ever. It's one of those like existential, totally changed my perspective on was, where is it? Might have been one of the older ones. God, where was it? No, it was like time lapse. Yeah, okay, a time lapse of the future, a journey to the end of time. So it starts off, kind of like at the Big Bang. Actually, no, it starts off, I think, modern day. Yeah, it starts off modern day, and then literally, like, I'm gonna go 2/3 of the way through the video, and at the bottom, you see it says 500 trillion years. Dark energy inflates universe. The next section, 4 billion trillion years. Last black hole evaporates. The last black hole in the universe evaporates 1 million trillion years into the future. It basically talks about like literally the end of the universe, how the last photons like just puff into nothingness and time ends because there's nothing happening. There's nothing. And it's just this amazing, and it's all just unbelievably animated. And dude, it's just insane. It's just insane. Watch the video. It's 29 minutes, and it covers time becomes meaningless after 100 trillion years.
And
dude, it's
that one's the time lapse of the future.
Yeah, time lapse of the future, journey to the end of time, 4K.
I'm gonna watch that.
Oh my god, dude, that's
so sick.
And I'm just
in on both
I need
of those
to know.
channels.
I need to know how he does the visuals, man. Like, he must spend. It's so crazy too, because I was like looking at one of the ones was the alien life one, and he has like this amazing. It's this cool like futuristic. It looks like post-apocalyptic thing where there's this like monolithic concrete building in the middle of this just like wasteland of Earth. And it like slowly comes in, and you just see like the front door like light up at white light, and he flies in, and it's like this giant open, and there's a pedestal, and on the pedestal is like floating like this creature that is like this amorphous like alien that's this unbelievable thing that would be like, it would be the baddie in some cosmic horror movie. And it's like he shows it for 11 seconds. It's like, it took him like a week to create and render that in Blender, and it's like there and gone. He never like so I need to know like his workflow. I actually haven't even looked like how far apart these videos are. They must be months apart if he's doing all of this himself, and he's creating and rendering all of these things. Dude,
so his two most recent videos were 9 days ago and 5 months ago.
Yeah, okay, and that makes sense. But then if you look, 7 million, he probably makes 100,000. Like, he probably makes 6 figures from each one of these videos.
Yeah. Especially if he's creating everything, he can monetize it, right? A lot of these guys that do these super long videos use copyrighted music and stuff, but if he's doing it all, then he can monetize the hell out of it.
Dude, I need to know how he does this.
Yeah, the time lapse of the future is most viewed video. 87 million views.
Dude, okay, so I'm putting a link into chat. I just want you to click just so that we can be looking at the same thing. It's Life Beyond episode 3, and I just went to 21 minutes and 44 seconds. Just like, it's just this amazing planet with like rings of like nanobot. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But like,
so sick.
How do you make that?
I don't know.
It's so funny. Like, if I were to watch something like this on like a Netflix show or like a Discovery Channel documentary, I'd be like, okay, cool, yeah, whatever.
But on
then
YouTube,
it's like, but it's when it's a dude who makes it on YouTube. Now I'm like, yo, wait, how do people make that? Right? Do they have to go into Blender and hand make every? It's a planet-sized thing. Like, how do you? I'm so ignorant. I need to learn.
That's insane.
Dude, one of the coolest visuals too is there's a planet that we've like imaged. His is like obviously a sort of an artistic rendering, but it's a planet that has like rings where the size of the rings is like greater than from us to the distance to the sun. So it's this like tiny ball with just and it shows you like zoomed in and you're like, oh, it kind of looks like Saturn. And then it goes and then it stops, right? So you're zooming out and all of a sudden the rings stop and you go further and all of a sudden it's like there's another set of rings and further and another. It's the one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen is this tiny little planet with just rings the size of like a solar system.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, dude, you have to watch it. Melody Sheep. It's unbelievable.
I am so excited. I am so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Adam just said if he has a $5 RPM on 87 million views, that's over $400,000 on that one video alone.
Yeah, it looks like I gotta pick up Blender, which I actually have been meaning to do because watching the Bobby Broccoli videos, I think I talked about those, like and how he does. Did I talk about how he does the visuals there at all?
A little bit, I think.
Like normally you could just have like pictures or video like pop up on screen, right? And it's all 2D, but he does it in Blender where he'll like make a plane.
Yes.
And put a picture and then the keyframe the camera flying through. So like the perspective of the camera in this 3D space, it just makes it so that like showing pictures is now infinitely more interesting when you're like flying. And I want to do that. But then I started to watch a tutorial, got about 6 minutes in and was like, oh, yeah, that probably isn't.
Yep. Dude, I did the same thing because like Steel's been making me some like dope thumbnails in Blender, and I was like, man, I want to learn this. I'm addicted to learning things. I want to learn this. And then I was like, I don't have the time. Same thing. Unreal 5.1 came out, and I was just like, all this crazy stuff happened, and I was like, dude, I want to kind of learn how to tinker around in Unreal. And I watched the tutorial, and I was like, nah, no, not right now.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I just wish I had more time to learn everything. You know?
Well, the time that you're spent learning something is the time you're not making content, which you're becoming less relevant and you're not making money and you're blah, blah, blah. And you're also not spending time with your family. And
you're right.
Yeah, it's worst. It's the worst.
The bagels, man, the bagels.
So the last thing I want to talk about is story time, because I blue balled a few people and they were upset. So I added a few to the list, and I just want to read. Oh wait, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say I forgot the one. Did you start one last week and not finish it?
I think there wasn't enough time.
The name of it. Yeah.
The homeless seizure guy or whatever. Epileptic homeless. Yeah. So a bunch of people have been like, "Yo, when are you gonna tell us the story?" Oh, But let me just tell it, because right after that, I got hit with like a wave of ideas of stories that I had remembered. I'm just gonna read the list just to blue ball everybody again. So we have homeless guy seizure, but then I also have finger cut in half incident, Maine woods creature encounter.
Oh yeah.
Wedding brawl, dad fight, firing an employee, KFC famous bull, Sun Microsystems $1 million, and ruptured spleen. Those are just some of the stories that I could remember that I want to talk
Veritas,
about.
Those are the track names for your next album, 100%.
Oh, dude. Dad fight.
KFC famous ball.
KFC famous. Oh, yeah, they're going to DMCA my video.
Bro, please. Dad fight is
Dad fight is an album.
Is an album for sure.
Oh, dad fight. Holy. So yeah, I'll tell the homeless guy seizure.
Dad fight goes hard.
So me and my wife are driving through like I grew up in a I say city, but like not like Boston city, like you know, it's a big city. There's like suburbs, but then there's also the quote unquote like inner city, where it's the less nicer part of town. So I'm driving through like one of the busier streets in kind of this infamous section. And this is where like a lot of the hospitals are. There's just narrow roads. It's kind of annoying. And there's always a lot of traffic. Now, this is like a 2-lane, one-way road. I'm with my wife and we're driving, and you know, it's maybe like 10 miles an hour for a minute or two. And then you kind of stop at a red light, you know, whatever. And I look over at one point and I see there's a guy face down on the road with like his shoulder against the curb, just lying there. And there were like a couple of people walking by, like looking at him, and cars are just kind of like in rush hour traffic, just looking and then just driving. And I'm like, what the like, I can't get over the fact that the guy must have, I mean, he had to have been there for a long time and nobody was doing anything. Like, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Like, I'm not trying to virtue signal.
No.
It just makes me disgusted.
Yeah.
So I like pulled up on the curb opposite side of the road. I got out of the car and I was like, you stay here, lock the door of the car. I'm like, wifey doesn't need to come out, you know? So I run over, and I don't want to get like graphic, but the guy, the way he was breathing, something was wrong. I think he had a punctured lung or something. Oh. I've never heard anybody breathe so painfully.
Yeah.
And he was face down, and there was some like some gurgle, like he was not doing well, and you could tell he was a homeless guy. So I like yelled at a woman walking by on her phone. I'm like, hang up the like call and call 911. I'm like, you deal with that, I'll deal with him.
Yeah.
So now of course I did the whole like, don't do anything medical.
Yeah.
I didn't touch the guy, you know, until I was able to talk to the paramedics, and I mean, the guy was just not doing well. They told me at the time, because I explained, you know, his breathing, to put him on his side, to roll him on his side, which I was surprised that they were like, roll him on his side.
Yeah.
But I guess, you know, you don't want someone face down on the pavement.
Yeah,
right?
I guess. I don't.
So I roll the guy over, and let's just say a couple of his teeth didn't come with him, which is already like pretty gruesome. And there was some blood and some other bodily fluids. This poor guy, he had been there seemingly for a bit. I don't know if he got hit by a car. I don't know if he had a seizure.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Geez.
But so I rolled over, and I mean, like, the guy, it's harder than you'd think to like hold up a grown man on their side when they're like barely breathing. And I just sat there with the guy, and kind of just sort of like tried to comfort him for a bit until the paramedics came. Now, one of the things that stuck with me the most when they came, so there was a fire truck and an ambulance, and of course one guy runs over and kind of holds the guy, and then, you know, as I get up and go to talk to a few of the other paramedics that are like grabbing the bags and you know, putting gloves on everything, they're all putting their gloves on, and I'm like, you know, like, oh God, because the guy was covered in piss and blood and teeth and whatever. And I'm like, I did what I needed to do to help the guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys have like hand sanitizer, like something. I mean, this was like maybe 10 years ago. It's not like it was pandemic, and I'm not a germaphobe, but I was like, eh. And I remember the paramedic looking at me while he's putting on his rubber gloves, like, no, I don't have hand sanitizer, and just walked by. Like, it was the craziest thing that I ever asked. I'm like,
as he's putting on gloves.
Yeah. So I had to drive home with my elbows on the steering wheel, basically. It's just the weirdest thing. That's the thing that stuck with me the most, is the look that paramedic had on his face,
dude,
when he was like, no.
Wait, you wash your hands?
Yeah, like what? It was just so bizarre.
Yeah.
It was such a weird experience, but it just blows my mind, dude. Nobody was helping this guy, and of course I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got hit by a car. Maybe he had broken ribs and a punctured lung.
Yeah.
That could have, maybe he is epileptic and had fallen over. I don't know. He was just lying there.
That's crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, but
bro,
so that's the homeless guy seizure story.
It gets real up where you are, man. Down in Florida, the gators just
down in Florida, people are doing bath salts and eating faces off of other human beings. What do you mean?
One time a guy eats a face and Florida gets a bad rap. I'm
pretty sure there was like a 2-week period where like that happened 3 times. Okay,
but that's Miami. Unrelated... That's not Florida. That's Miami, dude.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh yeah, man. Florida.
Yikes.
That is yikes. That's crazy.
Yeah. So. People will have to say which story they want.
Dude, Dad Fight has got to come next. Dad Fight.
Dad Fight. That was one. Honestly, Dad Fight is one of the most formative moments in my entire life.
Dude.
One of the scariest, but also most epic memories I've ever had.
It's going to be the most formative track on your next album, let me tell you.
Dad Fight.
Dude, you know what? Other thing, I mean, we've been going almost 2 hours, but the other thing, whether we talk about it an hour next week, have you been seeing the chat GPT AI thing?
Yeah, people won't shut the up about it.
I would just be interested to hear your thoughts on it and stuff like that. It's just interesting stuff.
I'm not convinced it's real and it doesn't make sense. basically, dude, I'm not convinced it's real and it doesn't make sense. So my first experience was I was like in a mood from losing all day, and someone in my chat like kept talking about it. Yo, check this out, click this link. I'm like, mommy and daddy are busy, not now kind of thing. And the first thing I did, I'm like, you know what, fine, let's do it. I pull it up and I'm like, what is what did I say? I asked it like, what is Chat GPT? And it was like, oh, I don't know, I'm not familiar with what chat. And I'm like, yeah, cool bot, dude, it doesn't even know what it is, like dumbass technology. And then like of course, everybody, is talking about it, constantly asking me about it. Yeah. I'm seeing tweets about it, there's videos, and everybody's talking about it, right? So then I'm like sitting in bed one morning. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go check it out. And I took a screenshot of it. I'm trying to find where. Oh man, where did the screenshot go? Desktop. I really want to. Oh, okay. This is after I had just watched a Melody Sheep thing.
Okay.
And I was like, write me a song about the vastness of space. And it was like, instantly was, in the vastness of space where stars once shone with grace, now lies a cold and empty place. The universe has run its course. No more energy to fuel its force. The heat death has stilled its source. Gone are the vibrant nebulae.
Hell yeah.
The swirling galaxies and fiery stars. All that remains is dark and lifeless debris. The once great universe has died, no longer able to sustain life. All that's left is to drift and glide. But even in its final breath, the universe will know no death, for it will live on in an endless frozen wreath. Okay, that was the slant rhyme. But like instantly, dude, it spit that out.
That's KFC Famous Bowl right there. That's what that track is on the album.
I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, I know machine learning and I know AI, and it just shouldn't be that. I should look at a.
Oh yeah.
There should have been a year period of time where something like that existed, but you'd have to wait a day and a half for a spinner to generate it.
Yep.
The fact that I type in and hit enter and it's like, I'm like, what?
Dude, I've seen write me a 2,000-word essay on the racial themes in the book To Kill a Mockingbird, and whoosh. Done. I've seen I saw a clip of a guy, he was working in Unity, like the engine Unity, and he was like, it was like, write me a Unity script that takes screen caps from my webcam and saves them as PNGs. Boom, copied it into Unity, and a folder started popping up with screenshots of PNG screenshots from his webcam.
We need to shut this thing down before somebody types in there. Enter your own questions into your own GPT bar, Chat GPT. Because then Skynet's here. Oh,
done. Oh, I saw one.
Shut it down before we tell it to start doing things on its own.
Yeah, I saw one that it was create a text-based video game set in Hogwarts where you give me questions and I answer based on answers A, B, C, or D. And it went, all right, you're a young wizard in the House Ravenclaw. Immediately. And it asked a question and it gave 4 answers. And it was like insane.
Dude, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. I hate it. And honestly, like
I hate it.
The fact that people are like, oh, the world's changing or whatever. This is going to be like our generation's thing to hate about like the next generation. You know, like old people hate the internet and like smartphones, right? And like we are going to hate. I just don't understand how anything is going to politics, news, education. Yep. How are the 3 of those things going to function when everything is indistinguishable? Like when something completely fake and fabricated, like deep fakes, are indistinguishable from the real thing.
Yeah.
And how you can basically never have to do any work or any homework or anything like that ever again.
Yep.
I have no words, dude.
I don't know.
I'm just scared. And it's one of those things like I'm scared because if humans were responsible, and I'm not worried about Skynet taking over the world. That's not what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm worried about all the kids that are going to make their way through and get a college degree with like this. It's similar to like if cheating in video games was, could like make you money and it was easy to do and free and whatever, then like every game would never feel right? Every essay is going to feel like it's plagiarized from AI.
Yeah.
Every news clip and video, you're going to wonder if it's a deep fake. I just don't know how we're going to know anything.
I don't know. And you're right. And it's confusing. And it's like, I don't know how we parse that out, because like what you said earlier, like really resonated with how I felt when people started sending me stuff about it, which was that it doesn't make sense that we didn't have something between last week and today. Because like last week, ChatGPT wasn't a thing. And the fact
the last chatbot was Smarter Child on AOL Instant Messenger. That was it.
Yes, and the reality is probably there were things, but it just didn't take off as virally. But it feels wrong that we skipped that when it took us, you know what I mean? When it's taken Apple 10 years to acknowledge USB-C is a better standard. You know what I mean? Sometimes sometimes it feels things are like so slow, and it's like, yesterday this wasn't real, and now you could like. I was talking to my wife about this. Like, there's going to be this small period of time. Like, if you're in college right now, you're so lucky because, like, 3 years from now, they'll have figured out a way to make sure that your stuff isn't written by AI. But no 48-year-old, college professor is updating his plagiarism checks for, like, did an AI write this? What you just said
is, cheating isn't a problem. Don't worry. There's anti-cheats out there.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, you could just completely breeze your way through school for the next 2 or 3 years because no one's gonna but yeah.
And then also think about the person that says some like dangerous or like racist or whatever shit, and then now they can be, that's a deep fake.
Yeah.
So now it's like all of these terrible things you can point.
Yeah.
It's so bad in so many ways, but then also it's the most amazing. I don't trust humanity to use these tools in a good way.
Yeah, they're too good. They're too good at tools. Yeah. Of course, I'm like, you're absolutely right. I'm eternally optimistic about everything. I'm just so excited. What I was talking about to my wife before, I was telling her about it because, I don't know, I'm just a nerd. And I was just like, I've had this conversation before where like, there was a point in time where almost like all knowledge was like, fittable in a brain, where like 98% of all knowledge in the world, almost everybody knew how to farm, how to make a fire, how to live, you know what I mean, how to hunt. And then right now we're in a time, and what has happened a lot with like the pandemic and a lot of the stuff is we're in a time where there's way too much information to any one person to hold. And And as a binary, that means that we're going to interact with things that we're forced to trust that other people chose to learn, because I can't know open heart surgery and the Phrygian scale and all this stuff, right? You just can't know all the things. And right now as a society, we're really struggling with acknowledging and believing the people that say that they know the thing that we don't know anything about. But I see this as like a next step. Like this makes like high school irrelevant. Like if you know how to do basic arithmetic, like do we need to know geometry anymore or algebra? Like I see this as almost like, is this like the next step?
Do I need to know how to write cursive?
Yeah.
If I don't even write anything ever except signing my name somewhere.
Is stuff like this, not specifically ChatGPT, is stuff like this the next step in the ability for humans to offload information and then make room for newer, like, you know what I mean? To you know, go more and more and more and more specific and learn new things or try new things, because like I don't have to spend literal months of my life learning how to format a paper in like MLS format or whatever it was we had to do in high school. Like,
well, before that it was time. You spent months of your life digging holes and planting seeds in, you know, like,
so is this the next step of the ability for the human to offload? I just don't need to know that, because it's objective and I can just boom, 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 boom. And of course, everything you said is absolutely right. There's dangers for sure, but I'm just like, what is this? You know what I mean? I immediately went to like, how does this affect school and education and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's amazing, because just imagine if you're like, oh, tomorrow we have the ability to be invisible and teleport.
Yeah, terrible.
Well, now it's like, well, now you've just changed. Like, it's obviously amazing, but now I'm constantly going to be like throwing punches in my bathroom before I get in the shower. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
so true though. Yeah.
I don't trust humans with that power, right?
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
And again, I'm not making like an ethical, judgmental thing about like, well, then we shouldn't do it. You know, it's not like that. It's just, I can't help but be worried, right? But like,
for sure, it's crazy.
Yeah, dude, like we just got to tread carefully and be smart,
for sure,
about, and then people just needs to be, oh God. I mean, if we weren't poorly evolved apes,
yeah,
then as Hitch said, with prefrontal cortexes that are too small and adrenaline glands that are too big, it wouldn't be that big of an issue. But because both of those things are true, unfortunately, there's too many bad things are going to come from this, and it'll be interesting to see.
I heard that
the good and the bad.
I heard that. So ChatGPT was trained on 175 billion points of data, and that OpenAI is already basically like working on version 2 of it that they're trying to train on 2 trillion points of data. So it's like just more specific and confident and,
you know, how many
all knowing.
This single website is going to like put Fiverr out of business.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we saw with the AI art thing, like over the past 12 months ish, when like
it's how I make all my album covers.
AI art started showing up, and then like there was a really visceral reaction to it from the art community, because it was like, well, this is like taking all of our jobs. And then the existential question of what is art? Like, you know, we kind of like, because neither of us are, well, artists in the sense of like actually like painting and selling our art, I kind of witnessed it from, you know, through the glass, where I was like, oh, you know, stuff like it would just pop up, and we kind of witnessed this whole existential threat to art. And now you've got people like Adobe like allowing the sale of AI art. It's interesting stuff. And so like,
well, wait until you can say, generate me a guide on all of the Tarkov quests in video form, make it really entertaining, and so that everybody will subscribe. And it's like, okay, here's 872 videos.
Yep.
Well, Jesse, Veritas, you guys are out of a job. Because even though there's a contingent of people that like love you, the number of people that just don't give a and want the information is probably larger than that. And you know, But again, you can say the same about like, there are people who there's value in the fact that it was made with human hands, versus, you know, some people like to have a print on their wall, whereas some people want to have the original. So those things are just going to be rarer and more expensive, which means that like 90% of those jobs and those opportunities are going to go away. But yeah, I mean, everything is just going to become a Walmart, but like conceptually, right? Like why would you go and buy a Xbox at like a mom and pop shop because it's twice as much and they never have it in stock when you can just go on Amazon, have it delivered to your door tomorrow, you know, for the cheapest possible price. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yikes.
Yep.
Well, stay tuned for Dad Fight.
Stay tuned for Dad Fight.
My story time for next week, as well as my up and coming album
of a similar name.
You know, I do have a song that I didn't make the song, but Boopus Magoopus, aka Raid Music, he remixed a roast that I had on somebody in chat like 2 years ago, where he said something rude, but then called me dad, and I said, "Just because I f***ed your mother doesn't make me your dad, kid." And that he like tuned it down, and it's like, "Just because I f***ed your mother doesn't make me your dad, kid." And it's like this trap, like sick.
Oh my
and it's
God.
It's pretty epic. It's pretty epic. It's kind of a funny song.
Oh my God. Well, I need that in my life.
So that
would be the perfect song to call Dad Fight. Just because your mother doesn't make me your dad. That would be insane.
I also think that was probably the best. I'm sure some human has said that before me, but I improvised that on the spot.
And I would be proud of that if I did that.
That's one of my proudest achievements, honestly. Like, put that on my tombstone. Just because I f***ed your mother doesn't make me your dad, kid. Veritas. 1988 to 2023.
Oh, man. Well, that feels like a good place to end it. You know, we'll see what happens in Tarkov. Maybe by next week. The devs of Tarkov will be able to use OpenAI and chatbot GPT to write code to fix the Tarkov and desync. Fix the audio and desync in Tarkov.
Oh my God. Quick, someone type that in.
Yeah. I typed in something about Tarkov and it said it didn't know about Tarkov. But maybe it wants the 2 trillion data point version.
I asked for a chord progression. I was like, give me a space interstellar-y sounding chord progression, and it spit out like another song about space. Like it was like chorus, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chord. I'm like, okay, copy paste that. Might use that later, you know, like because it was really good, but it wasn't what I was looking for.
Stupid AI. I'm gonna copy it and use it, but that's not what I was wanting.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for hanging. Thanks for being here. This will all be live on the podcast channel on Monday. Maybe we'll get something in Tarkov. Maybe OpenAI will take over the world. And but the one thing you'll count on is you'll hear about a dad fight next week. So secret word is bagels. If you made it this long, type your favorite bagel in chat. And yeah, thank you guys for hanging. I will definitely see y'all on the next one.
Peace.